Hi friends, see here, education program. Education program means preparing a plan on particular content for a group of student or a individual student for one student. When you add a individual in education program, that means you're planning your program for one particular child, for one particular person. Okay, that is called your IEP. Yes, individualized education program. So we are going to discuss your IEP, why it is important, what is the purpose, what are the steps to prepare the IEP, how to write a specific objective, and a few samples. Okay, so we are going to talk, and I request you all guys to watch this video completely, because at least one time, so that you can understand the complete information. If you skip, what happened, you miss certain important points which I talk. So it's requested, watch at least one time completely, and then later you can skip. That's no problem at all. Okay, so purpose, why it is important, what is the purpose of IEP? The main purpose of IEP is to provide appropriate education and training to child with disability, every child with disability, whether it is a intellectual disability, whether it is autism spectrum disorder or any other disability. The main purpose is to provide appropriate education and training. You're going to select the content as per the child's need. Okay, here the appropriate means what? Appropriate means what are his need or her need. Okay, what are his abilities, that means the child abilities. Okay, so what is IEP? Now, IEP is a document and a statement of the steps or an input that will be provided by the trainers. That means a teacher, that means a parent, that means or any other stakeholders, to enhance the ability of the child to carry out the activity that he requires to perform daily life, in his daily life, in his day to day activity, which is very very important. Okay, so IEP plays a major role in giving a training. That's why we are learning about this IEP. Okay, so let us move further and understand what you need to keep in your mind while planning the IEP. So what we need to consider: first, what the child can learn, the pace at which he can learn, okay, or the pace at which he will learn, or the extent to which he can learn, and the teaching method and material through which he can learn. So which is very very important. That's what I was talking about. IEP is very very important for children with intellectual disability. Okay, even autism, even the speech or any other developmental disability. Okay, so this 4 points you need to consider before you plan IEP: pace, extent, teaching method and material. Okay, so what extent my IEP will be, what you call continuing, what pace it will be, taking away, and what will be my method approach, and what kind of material I'm going to use. That you should keep in your mind before you plan your IEP. So what are the steps? Now, in developing your IEP, you need to follow certain steps like collecting a general background information, which is very very important. Okay, without this information, we will be lagging in preparing the IEP. Now, you know, what kind of background information you can find out, like family background, birth history of the child, the developmental history of the child, whether the child has a problem from birth to the present year, or some school history, or a previous record where he was studying, or what kind of intervention he has taken, because this all information will help us to prepare, develop a good IEP. That document of present level of performance, that means assessment. his assessment, recent assessment or past assessment of the child, because it will help us to review and understand his ability and strength. So before planning, the IEP assessment of current level performance of the student is essential, that you need to understand. And associated condition, whether the child is having a associated condition like intellectual with Down syndrome, or child has intellectual with a visually impaired conditions. So all these you need to find out, okay, which is very important when you plan your IEP, because it help you to select the appropriate material, appropriate method, appropriate approach, okay. Then second one is your carrying out educational assessment, which is very very important while developing your IEP. Without carrying an educational assessment, see here, you remember educational assessment. Why we are doing educational assessment? Because it is individualized education program, okay. So we have to do naturally educational assessment, okay. So what kind of educational assessments are available? See, in India we have, which we are commonly following for intellectual disabilities and for other disabilities as well. See, FACP is your functional assessment checklist program checklist. MDPS is your Madras development program. FACP already I have explained. You can check those videos. You can get the detail in coming days. I will explain about MDPS and your educational assessment checklist for children with intellectual disability. See, this helps us to understand his educational ability, his educational status. So once the assessment is done, then we can plan further what is going to learn in the term, in the year, or in the coming 2 months. And then you need to identify, once you have done your assessment, educational assessment, then you're going to prepare or identify the annual goal, which is very very important. Annual means a 1 year, okay. We are going to discuss this one by one. Annual goal is very very important, okay, because you're going to select based on your assessment. Then setting a short-term objective. We are going to see how to set a short-term objective further. So this is just a step which you need to identify, you need to understand, okay. Setting short-term objective is very very important. And then formulating the teaching plan for each objective, whether you have selected one objective, three objective, or four objectives in your short term goals. You need to formulate a teaching plan, okay. Each objective is different, each objective has a different role to play, so you need to formulate a teaching plan differently, like the domains, the goal, the baseline will be different, specific objective also will be different of each objective, the motivation, the classroom arrangement, seating arrangement, the location, everything will be different, because each objective demands a different arrangement, different material, different setting arrangement, different current level, or it may belong to different domains as well. Teaching procedure also, because material, teaching strategies, reinforcement, as I said. Then formulating method of evaluation. After teaching 100%, you have to evaluate the objective which you have selected. So formulating method of evaluation is very very important. So based on the task analysis, you can track the progress of the child, like where my child is standing present, whether he is moving towards the progress or not, which is important to chart the the strength and weaknesses. Then daily report formats. If you use the daily report formats, like observing daily in certain behavior, that will help you to evaluate the child very specifically. And then anecdotal recall, like minute to minute observation, hour to hour observation, that gives you a better understanding of objective which you have selected in your intervention plan. Then worksheets, when you give the worksheets, you track the understanding of the child, how much the child has understanding, so that you can, based on the objective, you can prepare and make sure that, prepare it little simple, that I mean to say, based on the child's need, you need to prepare. You should not, copy paste some from somewhere, where, the, what do you say, the statement is not visible, or they are not able to read, it is very small. No, that kind of things you should mention. Make sure that you know um, prepare yourself based on your objective child's need. Okay, and the rubric sheets where it says that my child is in understanding level, or my child is a creativity level, or an analyzing level, what kind of rubrics you're going to use to track those progresses. Okay, so this is very, very important. You can formulate the evaluation in different ways. Okay, so let us move further and understand the formats of IEP. See, there are different formats of IEP all over the world, you can see, but the content, the components, remains the same. See, wherever you go, the special education remains the same, which is a very good concept, because IEP, if you look in India, it's different. If you go in US, it is different. If you go in Gulf country, it is different. And sometimes it also differs from school to school, because they prepare on their own way based on the child's need. So components remain the same. Let us see what are those components. Okay, here I have divided this IEP, or which, NIMH used this, or all over India followed the same format. So this is divided into two parts, part A and part B. In some school you can see even C, part A, part B, and part C. So let us understand what are the components available in part A. See, demographic detail, because which is very, very important. So in this, naturally you're going to write the name, age, education, address, parents name, occupation, income. This helps us to understand the strength of the parent, the strength of the child, and it will help us to communicate very easily to the parents as well. Then date of filling, IEP, which is very, very important. When you're going to start, when you're going, that means the initial date of your planning and implementing the IEP. Permanent address, as it is very important, always try to mention the current address. Okay, see, in demographic detail, you're writing their address. It might be an address of, the parents, but the current address is, if the address is the same, just put same as above. Okay, so current address with email or phone number, it should be mentioned correctly, so that if anything happens to the child during the teaching IEP, or during providing intervention plan, immediately we need to inform the parents. Okay, which is very, very important. It helps us to communicate, to the parents very easily. And then you have a mother tongue and language spoken. Yes, if for example, if the child is not able to understand the English, then you will try to teach the child in his own mother tongue. It might be a Hindi, it might be a Telugu, or it might be any other language, okay, all over the world. So that has to be clearly mentioned in the intervention plan, so that if even you are going, leaving the intervention plan due to some issue, then the next guy who comes will be very easy to understand him, because it will help to continue the progress. Then significant information about child. Now what is significant information here? You need to write down the classification of the child, whether the child you are teaching is IED, that is intellectual disability, or autism spectrum disorder, or speech difficulty, or any other disability. You need to mention significantly, so that the instructor, the special educator, will have a knowledge, is I'm teaching this guy. Then associated condition, which is very very important, which I spoke initially. you know Note the additional disabilities, as like intellectual disability with, it might be a cerebral palsy, intellectual disability with Down syndrome, or child may have hydrocephaly or hearing impaired or epilepsy. So it helped us to understand the child has another need which you need to mention in the IEP. The role of IEP will increase when you write responsibilities, who's going to teach what. The hearing specialist can indulge in the IEP and then can work for the welfare of the child's, in the progress of the child. So this is why the associated condition is very important to write. And then referral. If the child has any kind of medical condition or health or diabetes, sometimes special educators can refer to the hospital, to the clinic, for a specific diagnosis, for a specific training, for a specific intervention, because this is not a single man teaching the child. Here one child is taught by different professionals, because the need is urged, because the need is required, because the need is visible in the child. Okay, so these are the steps which you can see in this. Let us see another you know step which you have in the part A is your general background information. Now already we have discussed in the beginning, in your steps, that was the steps of preparing the IEP. Now we are discussing what are the components available in IEP formats. Okay, so don't mix up in that. So general background information. So this is another component of part A. That means in your IEP you will see this general background information. I will show you the sample when we come down. I will show you at the end. And here, as I already discussed, the child family background. So number of siblings, the socio-economic, educational status of the family member, everything need to be mentioned. The birth history. So whether the child born with during the low birth, or he has a um, or body was blue color, or some information was missing. So all these kind of things you need to mention. Then developmental history, the developmental milestone, whether the child has achieved the normal development, whether child was able to walk at 12 months, he was able to speak at 2 years, he got a toilet control at 3 years. So that kind of developmental history you need to check before you prepare the IEP. Then school history, then previous schooling, whether he has already gone to some school, what were the teacher teaching in that previous school, that you need to mention. Okay, because it helps us to understand whether he has that particular skills or not. Then occupational skills, so previous record, if the child is adult, above 18 years, so sometime we take occupational history, previous record of occasional training and work. That will help us to understand, to give a proper transition program, to prepare a proper individualized occasional transition training program. Anyways, I'm going to prepare another video on IVTP, like your IEP, then you can understand the differences. Then documentation of present level of performance, that means present, what is the level of the child. So that previous record you need to mention to understand the strength and weaknesses. Then setting a goal, as I said, in setting a goal you have an annual goal and short-term objectives. Okay, so let us see how to prepare this set annual goal and short-term goals. See, annual goal, it says the year. Annual means year. Annual goals are the curricular content, whatever the curriculum you are teaching to the child, whether you are in inclusive education, whether you are using FACP, whether using MDPS or EACCID, any curriculum content which teacher expects her from his students to achieve over period of one academic year or a period of 1 year, that is your annual goal. That means you're going to For example, here, for example, writing 20 functional word. This particular content, this particular topic is for 1 year. That means the child has to read 20 functional word, 20 reading functional words. That means writing, reading, and doing a 2-digit 2-line addition without carryover. This is his annual goal. Okay, now what is short term goal? Now in short term goal, a specific curricular content from the annual goal, a teacher is expected her student to learn over a short duration. For example, here you can see you have taken a 20 functional words in annual goal, whereas here you're going to take only 5 functional words. You were taking a 20 functional as a reading, here you have taken only a 5 functional words. You have taken a addition, but here you're going to teach 1-digit 3-line additions. So see, this is how you're going to cut down your objectives. That means the curricular which you have selected, the 3 objectives, same objectives you're going to take, but you're going to cut down based on the child's level. Out of 20 functional words, you have taken 5. This might be for 2-month program, this might be for a 3-month program. So you need to decide your short duration, whether it will be for 2 months or 3 months. As per that, you are going to select the objective from the annual goal which you have already selected. Okay, that is your short term objective, which is planned for the shorter period of time. Okay, hope it is very clear to you. Then let us see a part B format, which we have discussed while ago. That is your part A components. Okay, and in part B, let us discuss in part B. You have a core domain or subject. For example, what is this? In which domain? Let us say we have taken a 5 reading of 5 functional word. That might be academic domains, right? So the content which a teacher expects her student to achieve over a period of time, the teacher may write a goal annually or term wise. Okay, so annual domain means like it might be an academic which the teacher is expected to achieve over annual or a term wise. That is your subject or domain or core area which you are looking for. Okay, so in the domain area you can write academic, personal area, social area, or anything. Okay, so task analysis, see, it is a specific statement of what task you're going to teach or what activity to be taught to the child. It's very simple. Current level, the performance of the student based on the topic, reference to the topic. You're not going to write the current level if you have taken a simple reading activity. You cannot write a current level of mathematics, you cannot write a current level of socialization skills. Okay, because that is not matching to the objective which you have selected. If you want to teach that particular task, you need to find out the current level of that particular against that particular object. Okay, then specific objective, which is very important of your IEP whole process. Here you need to remember the 5 components, which is very important. Now here, as you can see, first one is your condition. Okay, first one is your condition. So under what circumstance the student does it. I'm going to give the example. Let us understand first what are the 5 components which you need to remember before writing your specific objective. So 5 components. Let us see, first one is your condition. Okay, second one is your behavior. Now what is behavior? Behavior is nothing but an action of the child. Okay, then third one is your content. That means what particular content you're going to teach, whether it is double digit addition, single digit addition, what, that is your content. And then criteria, that means criteria, how well the student does it, whether it is 80% independently or with verbal prompt. That is your criteria. We will see the example, then you will understand, but you need to remember this 5 component. The last one is your duration, but at the end of the 2 month, or end of 45 minutes, or end of 1 year, what the period you need to mention clearly. Okay, so these 5 components you need to remember before you write a specific object. Let us see the example here now. Whenever you want to write a specific objective, the first condition means what? It, when a given a test, the child will write a numeral. That means when given a test, that is your condition. When given a homework, child will wash the clothes without any prompt when required. See, when required is your condition. Okay, I'm giving a condition. When given a homework, this is your condition. I'm creating a situation, a particular condition. Whenever I ask the child, that is a condition. Let us say I have made the child to learn the punctuation, and whenever I meet in the corridor, I will ask, can you tell me about that punctuation which you know I have taught you? So that is your condition. That any situation, that is your condition. And let us move further. Behavior. What is behavior? As I said, action. Will, write a numeral. Some action will be, that means some sort of action is doing. Will wash the clothes, will make a bath, or will tell one word answer. So a will word you can just keep in mind. Will tell. So will tell is your an action. For example, child will be writing. That means will, from will be writing. That means the child is doing something, some action is happening. That is your behavior. That means an action is your behavior. Action of child. Okay, action of child, which is very, very important to understand the behavior. Now content, it's very clear what you're going to teach. So writing a numeral. Now you can see here you don't have will. Okay, so content, reading a paragraph, tell one word answer, or make chapati, or or washes clothes. These are all content which you can teach the particular person or child. Criteria. Now see here, criteria means your expectation, how much you want your child to expect. 80% of accuracy. Will read a paragraph. Now don't, I have written a will, that doesn't mean that I am in criteria also will get a will. No, it is just to understand. When I show you one specific objective, then you will understand. After this I'm going to show you. See here, that means without any prompt, this is my criteria. Okay, on is on, this is my criteria. Without any prompt, this is my criteria. So I want my child to do that particular work independently without any prompt. That is my criteria. Okay, that means 80%, 90%, 100% independently. That is my criteria. Okay, then duration. As you know, duration is very simple to understand. 45 minutes after 20 session of the class, or at the end of the term, or after 1 year. So you can write in a different way, the meaning is same. Okay, that is your duration. Now let us see one example how you write a specific objective. Let us say this is one specific objective. Okay, so when shown red and yellow color object, the child will be able to identify red objects 9 out of 10 times by the end of the 2 months training. So in this, let us understand what are those 5 components. Now as you can see, this one is your condition, correct? So after this, you can see the child will be able, that means that is your behavior, that means the child will be, that means an action is happening, that is your behavior. Then to identify red object, that is your content, correct. And 9 out of 10 times, that is your criteria, right. And at the end of the 2 month is your duration. So this is how your specific objective looks finally when you write in your IEP, which tells you very clearly what is my objective, what is my content, at what time I need to finish, what is my expectations. Everything is very simple in specific objective. That's why specific objective is very important. Now in part B, we have material and learning needs. So selection of appropriate learning aid specific to the skill, whatever the activity you have taken, whether you have taken addition, subtraction, or personal skills or social skill, it should be appropriate to that particular task only. Not only the selection of learning material, but the material should be presented in such a way that it gets the attention of all the students or one students in the class, and it should facilitate active participation of students during the teaching, which is very, very important. If you prepare a material very attractive, the child will learn effectively, the child will get the concept very easily. Okay, so it should be appropriate, and the material selected should be age appropriate, as I said, age appropriate. Then procedure. See, under the procedure, how the task activity is taught. So for example, you have selected an addition. So in addition, how you're going to teach, what will be my first step, my second step, my third step. I will show you a sample for this. And the evaluation, finally how you're going to evaluate it, your success criteria. Now you see the specific objective, everything is mentioned in that, your criteria. I want my child to develop in that particular skill for 80%, for 100% independently. That is my evaluation. So as I said, in the teaching steps, evaluation can be done with the task analysis, anecdotal record, or any other things. Okay, so that you need to mention. Okay, now this is a sample which you can see. This is part A. So in this part A, you can see, which we have discussed, the demographic detail. Here you can see you can see what do you say, demographic detail. I'll just try to mark. Yeah, this is your demographic detail here, date of filling, then permanent address, what is the child's mother tongue, the significant problem, developmental delay with speech problem and autistic, that is your significant, that means the child is maybe an ID or autism. Any associated condition, that means behavior problem. Or referral, yes, the child will be referred for speech therapy because he has a problem in speech, he has a problem in behavior, so he will be referred in the particular centers or particular clinic. Then this is the part B, how it looks. See, here you have a domain, the activity. So for example, this is a sample of toilet indication, and the present level of fun, the child is able to follow the instruction, indicates the toilet with physical prompt. Okay, so when you write your specific objective, you will change this target. See, it might be, you want the child to learn at least verbal prompt with 80% of accuracy. So this is how, you have a condition, you have a behavior, you have a content, you have a criteria, and you have a duration. So this is how you're going to write the specific objective in part B. And then you have a procedure. This is the material. She has used only a sorry, flashcard and a clay to teach, and this is a procedure. So this is how you're going to write the procedure, or you can write even in a form of numericals. You can give a numericals, or you can write in the paragraph. You can just mention in a paragraph as well, highlighting what I have to do, so that when you go, some other guy, when he see, it is very clearly mentioned, this is the procedure to teach toileting skills. Then the reinforcement, what kind of reinforcement you're going to give. I haven't mentioned in the part B there, but reinforcement is very, very important. Okay. Then evaluation, how you're going to evaluate the child. Then this is how you're going to evaluate the task analysis record. This is how the record looks. Okay. Now here you're going to write a sub activity, sub task, that means the steps to teach the tolerating indication. This is my criteria. This is the name, and it's very clearly mentioned. Initially at the first session the child achieved 0%, then it slowly moved to 63%. Now your criteria is 80%, so slowly it will move to the 80%. But in 15th session the child has not achieved the target which selected, so make sure that he requires a more session to improve the tolerant indication. So this is how it will look, and here you're going to count only plus, you're not going to count the pp's. Okay, like for example 1 plus, so number 1, 2 plus number 2, so you're going to divide this 1 by 8, so 1 by 8 is your 13%, 2 by 8 is your 25%. So this is how you're going to check the progress of the particular child. Okay, so this is how you prepare, and this is the sample which is prepared by an IMS. This is how it looks, but there are different ways, there are different samples of educational programs or IEPs. As I said in the beginning, there are number of IEP, but the component remains the same. The activity, the current level, the material, evaluation, remark, the component remains the same, but just you need to know how to write that, how to prepare that. Okay, so that's it about your IEP. I think you have understood at least something about IEP. If you have any particular doubt, you just comment me so that I can answer it. Okay, whatever you have. So I think that's it. So till then, bye bye. We'll see in our next video. Bye bye.